Welcome back to the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. We're at the Texas High School Coaches Association Convention, back in person. And I am joined by David Saenz, head coach of the Steele Knights. Well, Coach, the back in person thing strikes me. What did you miss about the Coaches Convention last year? I know it wasn't the heat and the parking.
Yeah, more than anything, it's just getting together. It's usually a time of year where, we're coming back. You go to coaching school. You go network a little bit. You go to some clinics that have great speakers to perfect your craft a little bit more. But more importantly, it means it's about to start.
Well, what have you enjoyed about the convention so far since it started yesterday?
Yeah, just getting to see. There's a lot of faces I haven't seen in a while. From all over the state and coming by, guys that you coached with in the past that have moved on, and it's just always great reconnecting with those guys.
What are you looking forward to about this coming season? Because last year was so weird, and we'll get into a little bit of that later.
Yeah, just looking forward to a little bit more normalcy, getting the stands packed again, and that whole environment of having full bands at games. There was a lot of times we'd go places and there'd be only one band there. Sometimes there wouldn't be any bands, and the fans were half capacity, 25% capacity. So I think that normalcy of getting back and getting that Friday night experience, that's what I look forward to a lot.
Well, let's talk a little bit about last year. The Steele Knights had stumbled in the second round for a few years in a row. You guys went to the fourth round last year, and with an offense that was giving up a Daniel Jackson so he could catch passes at Iowa State, and Jalen Jones so he could do a lot of things at Texas A&M after doing a lot of things at Steele. It says a lot about the team that in that environment, they're in the fourth round, and you guys gave Westlake about as good a fight as anybody until the state championship game.
Yeah, it was extremely proud of that team last year. We were young in some spots, offensive line wise and things like that on offense. And of course, you go through COVID season. You have no spring. Yeah, you can't really do anything with your players until two-a-day starts. And we weren't the only team that was going through it, but it was a learning process. It seemed like those first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, trying to get those puzzle pieces together. But I couldn't be more proud of our staff and our players for overcoming a lot of the things that they weren't in our control. We couldn't help that. COVID was a thing, and you had quarantines throughout the season, depending on if a player was positive and had to follow all those protocols. So our guys did a great job of overcoming a lot of that adversity, and we ended up playing well there towards the end.
I'd like to talk a little bit about Wyatt Beagle. He came to be an institution at Steele starting since his freshman year. So I think the expectations for him were high, which I know he and the Knights embraced. But the more you study the season and the fact that he had worked with so many young players on the offense and led this team to the fourth round really speaks to what that young man did for the program and for the team to lead them to such a fine season.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he was a competitor. He was a leader, on the field, in the community, in the classroom. I mean, he willed us to a lot of that, and he did a great job of coaching our younger kids up, keeping them positive. There were times that there was doubt, I'm sure, in their heads, but him being the leader that he was on the offensive side of the ball, he made sure that when plays needed to be made, in certain times, you go back to the Round Rock game, you go back to the New Braunfels game, he made them, and that's the kind of competitor that he was. It's kind of the athlete that he was for us at Steele High School.
I'd like to talk about something with that Westlake game, particularly the Steele defense, because they managed to keep Westlake pretty frustrated through most of the first half, and that was a well-coached offense. We know Todd Dodge knows something about coaching quarterbacks and coaching offense, and the Knights did as well as anyone to stifle them, and I see two aspects to that. One, the simple execution, the fact of working the game plan to make this happen, but just not being scared of those guys. That's easy. Well, we're the Steele Knights. We're not afraid of anybody. But Westlake was such a juggernaut at that point that getting those players to buy into, we can compete with these guys. We can slow these guys down. Tell us a little bit about the attitude the players had to stay competitive, and then the game plan that helped keep the Knights in a ball game against an historically good team.
Yeah, our game plan going in, we knew they've been scoring 60-plus points a game and beating people pretty well. So we knew going in, defensively, we got to make sure that our kids understood what our plan was, and a lot of times it's stuck with the basics because we didn't want our guys thinking. We went on playing fast. We'd go in, we'd play a 4-man front series, and we may go back into the next series and play, a 3 down front or a 5 down front, and then more than anything, we played a little bit more cover 2 in that game, just try to get hands on their receivers. Those guys in space, they catch that ball in space. It's trouble, for any defense. So, we just try to keep them off balance as much as we could. But again, they took them, a half, maybe a half and a little bit more, and they just they just weigh on you. Their offensive line was big. They're just well coached, and they do a tremendous job offensively. But I couldn't be more proud of our guys. Our guys go in there. We play with a chip on our shoulder, like you said. Oh yeah, we're the Steele Knights. That goes a lot for our senior leadership we had on that team and on that defense.
And that Westlake game took place in January.
Yes.
Which is still mind-blowing to me. And you've alluded to fighting through COVID. What are some of the challenges that perhaps we couldn't see from the outside to getting a season to happen, never mind to be successful in that environment that's challenging everybody?
Yeah, going in, week to week, day to day, you never knew what the circumstances were going to be. Our administration, our district, they did a tremendous job, when it comes to, the way that we, from sanitizing to close contact to, how many people could be on a bus at a certain time. They did a tremendous job of setting those guidelines and protocols for us. But the hardest thing, I guess, of the whole season was you never knew from day to day who was, you get that phone call at 8 o'clock at night, hey, Coach, so-and-so tested positive. Well, then now we're going in and we're going through and we're trying to see who's close contact, who we got to send home, who's going to be out for 10 days. Not even that. It was, hey, my sister tested positive. Well, if that's the case, well, they still got to quarantine. And so that was an aspect that behind the scenes a lot of people didn't see that was going on, and then trying to, like I said, put the pieces here and there, and guys had to step up in certain situations because you never knew when your number was going to be called. A lot of times we say that because of grades and injuries and things like that, but we had those same issues along with COVID because truly nobody knew when somebody may not be there.
Share with us some lessons learned about coping with the pandemic that can apply when it's not near as threatening and omnipresent as it was 12 months ago.
Our motto seems like it's always been there, but if you control the things you can't control. That's what, if anything, that's what COVID, reiterated to me was you can't control certain things in your life. It's just how you respond to them. And that's the same thing on, with our football team this last year. There's nothing that we could do as a staff that so-and-so tested positive, he's going to be out for 2 games. It's out of our hands. We can't do anything. We've got to be the next man up mentality. And the way that you approach that and the way you look at that, we could easily say, well, you know what? We don't have, these 3 players for these next 2 weeks. We don't have a chance. That mentality would not have been very good for us. As a staff, as a team, we looked at it as for an opportunity for somebody else to get the opportunity to play and to excel, and they did. And to me, that's what life's all about. You never know when you're going to get something that's not in your control, a bad diagnosis, maybe medically, or sudden death in the family, things that we didn't know were going to happen. And a lot of it comes down to how are you going to approach it, how do you approach that, and try to make it into a positive instead of a negative.
Tell us about what you're looking forward to with this coming season. You mentioned that Wyatt Beagle led an offense with a lot of young players, and now I guess it's the other way around. You're going to have a lot of experience, but a new quarterback.
Right. Yeah, we got 7 back on offense, 7 back on defense. So, we're excited about that. Like you said, we're placing a 4-year starter at quarterback, so we'll have, we got a little battle going on right now, and they'll continue to battle throughout the fall, and then we'll have a starter going into that first game. But like you said, we're excited. We got a lot of experience back on both sides, and we got a spring practice in as well. And everything right now looks like it's good to go. So we're just excited about the upcoming year.
You'll need to be good to go. You'll need to be excited because you're still in a district with Clemens and Judson and Wagner and New Braunfels and Smithson Valley. East Central could emerge at any time. We know South Sand's never going to quit. So the challenge remains, and, of course, you knew that going in when you took this job, that it was never going to be easy, but it could be very rewarding.
Of course, no doubt. People ask, hey, that's a tough district. Yeah, it is. It is a tough district. You better have adjustments on the hand at any time, because if you don't, these coaches in our district, offensive, defensive, head coaches, they know that they're going to find it. They're going to exploit it, and if you don't adjust, they know that they're going to keep running it, either whatever it is, offense or defensively. So we got some of the best coaches, not only in San Antonio but in the state, that we go coach against each week, and the kids are extremely disciplined with the teams that we play. And so that's another aspect that we stress is the mental toughness. Is we can't give up. You can't, if it's third down and we can get off the field and all of a sudden we give a 15-yard cheap shot penalty for pushing somebody after the whistle or whatever, and you give them more downs, you're just looking for reasons to not be successful.
Coach Saenz, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it, and
Yes,
we look
sir.
forward to seeing you. We will be carrying a whole lot of Steele Night football, as we've done every year for quite some time, and we look forward to it once again.
I appreciate all that y'all do for Texas high school football.
That's David Saenz, the head coach of the Steele Knights. I'm Mark Kusenberger. We'll be back with more at the Texas High School Coaches Association Convention after this break.